What is going on, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Forward Thinking Founders. I am very grateful to have your attention, at least for the next 15 minutes of this episode. Forward Thinking Founders is a podcast where I interview pre-seed and seed stage founders about their products, what they want to build into the world, and why. We dive into how they spend their time, what's their vision, what's the origin stories, all these things, so you can learn all about what's coming tomorrow. Because these companies haven't hit critical scale yet. Most of them haven't hit product market fit. These are just early stage companies, and the big question is, what can this be? And in this podcast, we bring that out. So with that, I really hope you enjoy your time listening to today's episode. And I've already done 200 plus, so if you like this one, listen to some of the other ones, like with Amadi Kund, Austin Allred, Leah Culver. We have great interviews, so check it out, enjoy the repository, and for now, let's get into today's episode. Here we go. All right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Forward Thinking Founders, where we talk to founders about their companies, their visions for the future, and how the two collide. Today, I'm very excited to be talking to Isabelle Gough, who's a co-founder of Circula. Welcome to the show. How's it going?
Hi, Matt. Yeah, it's going great. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn more about what you are working on and kind of share it with kind of all the listeners. So I guess for my first question is, what are you working on? What is Circula?
So Circula is a sustainability metrics platform for the construction industry. And what we do is we provide whole life carbon solutions to help construction professionals reduce their building's carbon footprint without significantly affecting their workflows.
So I don't have a super unique view into just the construction world, but so I'm gonna ask like a kind of like high level question here. If someone was to, was in this world, was like a customer of yours and kind of got started with with your platform, can you kind of walk through what the user experience is, what they can do with your product, and just kind of give us an insight into that?
Sure, yeah. So it's kind of an emerging discipline, not only in the UK, but kind of globally. The construction industry is responsible globally for 40% of carbon emissions. So it's a huge global issue that we have to solve. And I think most people in the industry are motivated to do it, but there is a skills gap. So it's a great opportunity to kind of plug that gap with technology. So a lot of our customers, they already have a lot of data. So in order to build a building, you need to have architectural plans, and with that, a list of materials and quantities that will go into that building design. So having that rich data is a great starting point to carbon footprint. So what we do basically is link the two. We connect the construction to the carbon using our API technology.
And tell me a little bit about kind of why you got started with this. Obviously, a huge problem in the world, but why specifically did you want to tackle this problem? And tell me about the origin story for the company.
Sure, yeah. So I kind of started my career thinking I'd be an academic, although it wasn't exactly for me. But I did find myself in Greenland while I was studying, and I was studying permafrost there. Permafrost is quite a big danger on our planet. In fact, there's a tipping point where the permafrost will melt, and that will actually increase methane flows to the atmosphere, and it's quite a big danger that scientists are looking at. So studying that really motivated me towards finding climate solutions, one of which I decided to do quite a lot of climate protesting and running campaigns with youth groups and the like. However, I found very little progress on the political spectrum. So I turned my focus to entrepreneurship and what kind of impact I can make in that space. And while I was consulting actually on whole life carbon in the construction industry, and we won a construction tender for 50 units. And that, the whole life carbon comparison from the traditional brick and mortar buildings to the low carbon infrastructure that we were putting in was 8,000 tons. And that was the first time that I'd actually seen a tangible difference in the amount of carbon that had gone into the atmosphere. So that was a really great feeling. And I've kind of been chasing that feeling ever since. And some of the projections that we've managed to put through Circula have really shown me what kind of impact you can make in the clean tech space.
And as you've been working on this, and as you kind of started the journey, what have been some learnings that you've come across in the realm of entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship is like, such a quick slope learning curve type kind of profession, I guess. So what have you learned so far, kind of being an entrepreneur?
Oh my gosh, it's been such a crash course. Being a first-time founder, you have to wear many hats for the first time. And it's kind of that old analogy of when you jump off the cliff and have to arrange the plane before you hit the ground. So yeah, loads of firsts over the past year, such as filing a tax return and dealing with company books. Fundraising has been a huge challenge, just learning how to back yourself in high pressure situations. But yeah, no, it's a really fun ride, and I think it gives you a really rich skill set as well. So anybody who's considering the decision, I would say it's a good one.
And I guess one more question about kind of your day to day. I mean, when you wake up and you work on this company, what do you spend your time on? And kind of how do you know where to allocate it as you kind of try to will this vision into existence?
Yeah, for sure. So one thing about being a founder is you spend a lot of time on the phone or on Zoom now in this kind of post-pandemic era. Networking is a huge part of the job, and no conversation is wasted. So yeah, just being part of communities like Seed Scout has been really, really great for us. There's a lot of low-level work as well. If you're in a small company, you've got to get used to jobs that you don't really like. I spend a lot of time in Xero, on Zendesk as well. It's Izzy from Circula, but it's also Izzy in a lot of job roles within Circula. But yeah, you've got to do what you've got to do until you can have the capacity to grow that team, and you can more focus on the areas that you enjoy.
And kind of if we were to zoom out and zoom forward, 5, 10, 15 years into the future, what do you see as the big vision here, and what direction are you rowing in with Circular?
Sure. So the construction industry is definitely going in the right direction in the terms of implementing carbon metrics on their designs. Policy changes as well are in our favor. We're looking at 2025 to have mandatory carbon emissions on public projects. So that's all beneficial. We're just trying to develop slightly ahead of that so we can be prepared when people are really desperate for this technology to get past planning. But really the true vision is to see carbon become a central decision maker in construction design. At the moment, it's very kind of cost driven. Value engineering is a big buzzword. We'd like to see that become carbon engineering. So how can we get as much sustainability value out of our buildings as possible?
And in order to make that happen, you'll need some help, right? It takes a village to make a startup work and scale. So my question for you is, how can the forward-thinking founders community help? Are you hiring, you're raising money, looking for partners, customers? How can we assist?
Sure, yeah. So right now we are both fundraising and looking for commercial partners. So if you're either a tier one contractor in the construction industry, or maybe even an architect who wants to lower their carbon footprint of their designs, please hit me up. We're also raising pre-seed rounds. So if this has interested you in any way and you're looking to deploy capital, then get in touch and I can share my pitch deck with you.
And then if someone did want to get in touch or kind of learn more about what you're doing, how can they find you on the internet? Do you have a website, social media presence, email address? How can someone learn more? Sure,
yeah, look me up on LinkedIn. I'm Isabelle Gough on LinkedIn. You can email me as well at isabelle@circula.io, and that's our domain name as well, so circula.io. And just to clarify the spelling on that, it's CERCULA.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. I think this is very exciting, has so much potential, and I appreciate you sharing it with the Forward Thinking Founders community. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much, Matt. Thanks for having me.